Tommy Nicole's to see their property. They are on, I'm going to guess, an acre, maybe less. They currently have ducks and chickens and a garden. But I know they're working with an existing fence line that they want to utilize the space outside that fence line. So we'll see what else they'd like to do. Steve said that. All right, we're here with Tommy and Nicole, and we're going to talk about their goals for their property. How many acres do you guys have?
Half acre.
Half. Okay,
Little
so I
over
guessed an acre or under.
Okay, yeah.
So what are you guys doing here already?
Already we have the start of a Back to Eden garden, which didn't go super well, but we got quite a bit this year. Little island of potatoes in the middle.
Nice.
And then, yeah, it's going to attempt to be a companion style Back to Eden natural garden. And then right now we have chickens, ducks, bunnies,
You
two
still have
dogs.
bunnies.
Yep,
Okay.
2 dogs, 2 cats. The bunnies are in the coop in the kennel.
But they're pets.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're pets for their compost, and that's all.
Could you explain to our viewers what a Back to Eden garden is?
So basically it's our attempt at the most natural garden that there could be by keeping the soil untilled, by layering cardboard and then compost and then mulch.
Lasagna garden.
A lasagna garden.
Okay.
And it worked really well for us this year. It was just a lot more work than I realized it would be. Like hours and hours and hours for just a few square feet at a time. So as you can see, it just, it progressed from this part of the yard, which would be the front corner of the garden, all the way back to the back of the yard. And then we made our way, attempting to make a walkway.
That way.
Yep.
Okay.
And so I attempted to make it all the way to the fence where we did garlic and cantaloupe, and there's elderberry out there, and then blueberries. We got a few things, but
some things really thrived.
some things did
with
really,
this.
really great. We got
Yeah.
zucchini, butternut squash, cucumbers, tomatoes, like a lot of herbs.
Cool.
And yeah, so it worked really well. I didn't do enough compost and enough mulch to avoid enough of the weeds. So that
Okay.
is something that I would do differently, is layer the cardboard maybe even better than I did, which I feel like I did well, but still the grass will grow right through it.
Yeah.
And then you want like 6 inches of compost and I think almost 6 inches of mulch. And I did not do that. I was like being chintzy, really like spreading it as much as I could. But because of that, there was a lot of weeds.
That guy can move.
They can.
Yes.
Triangle of space.
Yep.
That's outside of your existing fence line.
Exactly.
Right.
So what do you want to do with it?
So
Okay.
Okay.
if you say no more animals.
We're gonna put a cow on it. So you've got grapevines.
Yep. So those are
You
100
didn't plant
plus.
those, though.
No, those are over 100 years old.
That's amazing.
And then we have a working, or not a working, but a shed over there.
Storage.
Storage.
So you could put more animals.
Yeah. We could.
Yeah, we could.
We could. That's a theory. That is a theory.
If there were, what would you do?
What would we do? I guess
Sheep.
It's not a
Yeah.
lot of space.
not enough space. That's what I was thinking.
For 2 sheep?
Would you want to keep this existing fence here, though?
No. So, okay. I'm going to take over here.
Okay.
My thought was taking down this fence and extending a fence to the entire property,
Okay.
at least the whole back half of the property behind the house, and then making use of that space. I don't know about the garden size. I guess we could keep it here. We could reuse this fence to close in the garden.
Yeah.
But yeah, ideally we want to use that. I don't know about other animals. I mean, I had figured sheep, goats get out too easily for where we are located.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are there any animals that you are interested by?
If I were to answer realistically, I'd say we're like 2 years away from more animals.
Okay.
I think,
Focus on
at
the
least for
garden
me,
and stuff.
biggest goal is
Maybe another
garden.
baby.
And maybe another baby.
What?
Who knows? No. As far as animals go, I think we're definitely another 2 years away from more animals. So I don't even know what those would be. I think extending our garden and really mastering the craft of gardening is really where we want
You want to be.
to spend our time, especially with traveling and other obligations. I think we've learned this last year with the animals that we did take on. It's a lot of work, and we took on like the most minimal need, like
Hard enough
type
to
of
leave.
animals. You know what I mean? Like the chickens are pretty self-sustainable. Like the bunnies are easy. The dogs are probably the hardest out of all of them. But if we add more to that, I think it becomes overwhelming.
Sure.
Not to say I wouldn't want more animals in the future, but I think more garden is really what we want.
Okay.
And biting off more than we can chew is, I think, probably not gonna. I think we're gonna end up with nothing
So
out of all of it.
we're looking at the property and thinking through what you might want to do. So it's something we can put in part of the plan, and logistically, what might be future use. And I know just if we thought through some more of it, we might have done things a little more differently if we had a little bit more of an end game in mind and less haphazard.
Nicole, she spearheaded this whole, our first year of gardening and everything like that, and did an awesome job. But it was a lot of work, admittedly,
so much
right?
work, yeah.
Especially for you, who basically did 80% of it on your own. 85?
95.
88? Okay.
95
I'll
and
give you a good
5% of the
88.
kids. 95 and 5% of the kids.
But I think one of the things we learned was
You work
like
a lot.
part of the challenge was the functionality of it. How can we make it functional to where
You're actually harvesting.
we're harvesting and we're not doing more work than necessary.
You're
based
actually
on
trying to
the
offset
time
your food
restraints that we have.
purchase.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Being
It's
able to
not just a
preserve
hobby.
and
Yeah, exactly. And how can we live amongst it at the same time and still be able to enjoy the space, it not just be a just a slate of workload. You know what I mean? Out there it's just work.
You sound so reasonable.
But we can go out there and enjoy it at the same time. And I don't know, maybe I'm dreaming.
That's true. No, that's true. Because we do talk about we wish
Good
that we could
balance.
come out here and enjoy it. So a deck, like a shaded area for us to hang out, for the kids to hang out. So right now, like you kind of said, when you look at it years in advance, you wish, I wish I would have known we were going to do that here, because we've moved things 3 and 4 times trying to
Figure it out.
make better space. And so we do it and we're like, we would have originally put it here if we had thought that
Right.
maybe we would be doing a garden or chickens. So yeah, looking ahead at what the space could be used for. But
What kind of challenges do you have?
the soil's good. I think the biggest challenges are dealing with the water, with our own septic system, drain field, having to go and change all of that. But
Our spigots at the house, running a hose all the way over here was kind of a challenge. You know what I mean? We were just spray watering everything. And so we have one hose, one working spigot. So that was a bit of a challenge, getting it all the way across, which is not really that far, but I guess when you're doing it
It's
on
far
a daily
enough.
basis, it's
but
far enough.
two connected hoses really still would only reach halfway through the garden.
And that was another thing that made this side of the yard less functional than everything over here. Was no power, no water. It's just kind of no man's land. We've got the shed is for storage, but
Yeah.
it's basically
Right
it.
now,
So-
all we do is just mow it, and it's kind of a waste of. And kind of another thing was I'm a dreamer, and my ideas are all over the place, and he's more logical. If I say, "Can we do this?" and then we can figure it out, he can make it happen. But there's that in between of the planning that I think both of us kind of have a hard time with, how to best use the space. So that's why when we're talking to you guys, that's actually super helpful to have somebody come in and say, you could do this with this area, you could do this with this area. Whereas we just kind of look at it all right, we'll use this chunk and the next one, versus what might actually make the most sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
So I think
and we can
And not starting something we can't finish.
Yeah. And we can help lay it out and think about it in phases, right?
Yeah.
So
the phases would be
it's
super
not going to be
helpful.
a huge thing that you want to bite off.
Did you say a tree has to come down?
So this tree is most likely going to come down just because the roots are under the foundation of the house. The branches are-
It's huge.
I think they had estimated it was maybe 150 plus years old. based on how large it was. So for me, it's sad to come down. But
Yeah.
for Tommy, he looks at the logical side of the roots being under the house and, you know, the other risks for it.
So again, if there were future use of animals and having a shaded area, did you plan on any more planting or trees or anything else?
We would
Fruit
love
trees?
to. Yeah.
Nut
Fruit trees would be amazing.
If you wanted to do like a food forest,
Mhm.
that's a great space.
Okay.
You can run ducks through the fruit trees. They're not going to damage.
Okay.
So you want to maintain some yard for kids. You
Yep.
want maybe a deck in the future, a hangout spot, outdoor living, animals,
And
garden,
a pond.
a pond.
Upon, yeah.
And
We'll
a,
just throw that in there.
probably a goal of no
Have them hang out
mowing.
with her.
Like,
Yeah,
no
yeah. It'd be
Very
so
little
nice to have
mowing.
minimal mowing.
Very little mowing.
Yeah.
I would like to mow the front
Yeah.
and call it a day.
Okay.
You know,
20 minutes and out. Done.
Yeah.
and absolutely no weed whacking.
Yeah.
That-
Oh my gosh.
If
that's
we can
the
eliminate
worst.
that, we're good.
Yeah.
No, that I would. Okay, so on that was one of the major issues with our gardening this year, and it was nobody's fault, but it was something we realized. Okay, as the summer rolled around and as the grass just became so aggressive, mowing around our garden became a major project because it's not squared, it's amazing, and,
Just kidding.
the shape was organic.
There's
and everything like
islands.
that, but it was a learning,
Yeah.
experience. Like, okay, we need to make sure we're accounting for this grass that just pushes up the cardboard,
Yep.
and it just becomes a mess. It becomes a mess, and when it's a mess, I don't really enjoy it.
No, that's
And so,
true.
what I'm looking
Right.
for, what I am looking for, is something that, we can. You reap what you sow, but also you enjoy it while you're doing it.
It still
So,
has a wild
to
look,
enjoy the
but it's
process.
easier
Oh,
to
right.
maintain.
That's-
Yeah.
I want to be
it's
able
all
to enjoy
about-
the process.
yeah.
We want to enjoy the process. We'll end up getting more from it because we'll be able to put more of our, positive energy into it.
So originally we had a pathway here, like in the center where you see the two wooden posts, and then it was just going to kind of spiral in, almost like a cottage-style garden where you can walk through it. So really, like, literally mixing a million things back to Eden Cottage, Food Forest, and all the things.
Just plant all
I
the
like the
seeds.
wild look. Tommy doesn't as much, but I think there's a middle ground between wild, not looking untamed completely, and still clean, but then still,
Yeah. I prefer to call it an organic look. So it's
Yeah.
like natural. It doesn't necessarily have to be like symmetrical, but also it looks like it has function to it. And there's like purpose behind it. Purpose behind the, organic matter, and the shape of it.
I think one of our
Yeah.
biggest issues here is not predators or anything like that. It's the wind.
Yeah.
So like we'd put up the greenhouse, it blew down a week later.
Yeah.
So there were issues with that, and that's basically wind just ravages
Force
through the
there.
yard.
Okay.
So what direction is it usually? Is it typical?
I think it's usually
Is it all
coming in
over the
like
place?
from this way,
I
but
would say
really
it's
it's
usually
crazy.
this
Yeah.
way,
Right now
but
it's coming.
it's all over the
Yeah.
place. But I
A
would
lot
say
of
it's
really,
wind shear
really
given
bad.
your relation to like the mountains. And everything,
Right, exactly. It's
Yeah,
like a-
exactly. It just comes right
It
through the
funnels
valley,
through.
and it's really bad. Yeah. Really, really bad.
So Jacob just passed a test for his, what's it called? Unmanned pilot. It's literally just to fly a drone.
So that's 300 feet.
Wow. Wave.